Welcome to Syntax. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Front End Happy Hour podcast.
Welcome to this week's JS Party.
Live from Shipshape Studios, this is Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot, with your hosts, Robbie the Wagner and me, Charles William Carpenter III.
That's right, Charles. We drink whiskey and talk about web development. I mean, it's all in the name. It's not that deep.
This is Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot. Do not adjust your set.
Hi, welcome to ASMR. This is Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot, and you are a good developer. You know things. You can write tests. I believe in you.
Anyway, how's it going?
Well, I'm running on about 30 minutes of sleep or so.
Yeah, and you just had that 30 minutes.
Well, no, okay, so maybe an hour if you give me that. But like last night, the twins were up, wanted to feed like 4 or 5 times in a row, and then like by 4 a.m. we got to try to go to sleep, and then Odie decided that was a good time to poop in the bed. So
I would eat that dog at this point. I think it's a better use. Eat him.
Yeah, right on my way down to do this podcast, he pooped on the couch. So we're having a rough day.
Yeah, they're adjusting. Let's say the dogs are adjusting to their new family.
No, Odie is just old and can't hold his pee and poop in anymore. But yes, my tiny children also cannot hold their pee and poop in anymore.
They never could. They haven't learned yet. So for those who don't know, Robert is on paternity leave with his new sons, making his sons count to 3.
Yes.
Good job.
You're currently leading the sons count.
Yes, you are. You're definitely. You're winning 3-1. I am not going to participate anymore or play that roulette. So in the end, but I'm winning daughters. So
that is true.
Is what it is. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm assuming we are live streaming as normal.
We are.
Today's whiskey is the Old Granddad 16-year straight bourbon whiskey. So it is the old Granddad. It is
the old
bonded,
old
although not. Yeah, it's the old Granddad. So it is at 100 proof. So technically could be considered bottled in bond. But that's not really a thing anymore. It's nice marketing. There's no official mash bill, but it does say on here high rye mash bill. So we'll just kind of go with that. So it's exactly the same as a regular Old Granddad, or there is Old Granddad 114, I believe it is, which is their higher proof bottling, but obviously much shorter aging. So this is just the same whiskey at 16 years aging. Looking forward to that. Crack her up.
Old Granddad 114 has a special place in my heart. It was at a my parents' Christmas party they do every year. Somebody brought them some, I guess. I was like, I had never heard of Old Granddad. And I was like, this is hilarious. There's a whiskey called Old Granddad. So like we just drank that. It was actually really delicious.
It is. It's been one that I have recommended to folks who like a more high rye bourbon. And the price point has always been, I don't know where it's at right now, but it was somewhere in the like $30 range. Maybe it's 40 now, give or take. But people are kind of smart to its availability. So it comes from Suntory through Jim Beam, the Beam Distillery. So a long time brand, but always, kind of a tasty one. So if you like to go that direction, I usually would recommend the Old Granddad 114. They have like an 80 proof, inexpensive one that's good for cocktails, and then a bottled in bond 100 proof of theirs as well.
Indeed.
Ooh, a little piney smelling to me, like fresh evergreen.
Yeah, it smells like a wood shop.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, just fresh cut pine, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, bunch of pine 2x4s.
Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna build some pine decking, or I don't know what you build with certain, like what woods are appropriate for certain construction. Like what's best for like outdoor use. What's furniture?
I think it depends. I think probably if you had infinite money, you would use like a cedar for most things. because it could be indoor, outdoor. It's like doesn't
Smells
rot,
good.
doesn't get eaten by bugs. I don't know. I mean, there's a reason we pressure treat boards and use those for outside, because like it's cheaper than getting the actual good, nice wood that would do the same thing. So
It
yeah,
speaks
I
more
don't know.
to the quality of materials going up and up, labor going up and up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think your deck should be made of plastic, and it's one of the few things that should, because it will never
You're
go
not
bad.
wrong. That's true. I've seen that like at like Lowe's or whatever, the like kind of plastic polymer, whatever it is, decking. Looks nice. I don't think I've ever actually been on a deck made of that stuff though.
Yeah, my friend has one, and I was like, "This is dope. I want this." But anyways, we should probably talk about this whiskey. Let's see.
Ooh. Cherry
It's got
notes?
like a sappy, like still kind of the pine thing, but like on the nose, I'm getting like sappiness, like a sweet.
I can see that.
Yeah. Anyway, let me taste
It's
it.
definitely sweeter than I expected in the first taste. Salivating now, priming the palate.
Salivating now. All right. Ooh. That hits you in the mouth.
It does. It's got some spice. So right in the middle too, right at the edge of my tongue, I got like sweet and spice like all at once. So a little bit of like, cinnamon, but like starts with like a cherry flavor to me, and like those, jarred cheap cherries that you put.
Yep.
Like that kind of cherry.
Maraschino.
Maraschino. I've got to learn those words. I learned this phrase, not well enough that I remember it offhand, but I learned this phrase the other day, and it was La mamma di cretini è sempre incinta. I don't know if I said that right, but basically it means the idiot's mother is always pregnant. I love it.
I don't.
Do you kind of
I
get
don't
it?
know that I
Like
get it.
there's an idiot born every day, or that kind of thing. That's sort
I
of
see.
the application. Yeah, and I thought that was really funny. There's another like French saying that's "Don't drown the fish," which is just like you're just overdoing it. Chill out. Yeah, because you can't drown a fish, so that's why it's funny too.
Well, something else that's overdoing it. The amount of wood on this is a little high for me.
Okay, you love the rise though.
Yeah, but I guess it's just older, so it's got a lot of wood from aging a long time. But it's like it's not necessarily the worst amount of wood I've tasted in something. But I actually think it's good. It's just not what I was expecting, I guess. So it does it like it was hitting different parts of my tongue, like all kinds of different flavors, lots of wood, lots of different stuff. Pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah. There's a third thing happening here for me. So I get, that cherry at first. I'm getting a bit of the cinnamon, and then as it sits, there's a third thing. There's almost like a light bitterness to it, but almost like I don't know. It's probably just the char from the wood, like you said. It's a bit more woodiness. It's a bit more char in the finish. But I do think it's interesting. I mean, it's significantly better than any other old granddad I have had personally. That said, I'm not saying like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. Go clear the shelves. Speaking of our highly technical rating system, I should probably describe that for the folks who maybe
I'm
just joining.
unfamiliar.
Yeah. Okay. I have to remind you, I know you're forgetful, and plus you're on very little sleep. So it starts at 0 tentacles, meaning horrible, spit this out, throw it away, don't bother. 4, middle of the road, not bad, not great, it's okay. 8 being clear the shelves, this is amazing. And any listeners of the show will know that we tend to categorize them from bourbons and ryes and scotch and whatnot as we do, but you can do whatever's best for you.
Was that telling me?
So
to do it?
now,
Okay.
I think you should do whatever's best for you.
I thought that was the general you,
Robbie.
like
Yeah,
those
that's
rating.
true. You're not wrong.
Yeah. So I actually realized I do not have the notes up. How much % rye was this?
It doesn't say. It's an undisclosed high rye mash bill.
Oh, okay. Well,
Undisclosed.
I don't like it as much as a mostly rye mash bill, I guess.
It's still bourbon, so it has the corn in there.
Right. So it's It's not quite as spicy as I would like. Doing it against other bourbons, I like it quite a bit because it is spicier. It does have some more interesting notes. So if we're classifying it as a bourbon, which I guess we might as well say,
let's do it.
Then
it says it on the label.
This is going to be 6 for me. Pretty good.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of fair. So I already alluded to enjoying it in the sense of as an old granddad. It's almost like talking about myself. Actually, just kidding.
I was going to make a joke that this is named after you, but
yeah, old. It's basically Charles William Carpenter III, granddad. So yes, as a bourbon with high rye, I kind of akin it to things like Wild Turkey. Like that is more of a like high rye, more spicy bourbon, not so much of the sweetness or like wheated styles. So. And in comparison to that, so here's one aspect of it. I think this is like $200, give or take. I think I might have gotten my bottle at Costco, so it was probably like $170 or something of that nature. So it isn't cheap, but I do enjoy it. And it is kind of like an interesting one to break out for friends. I would say that like my middle ground would be the Wild Turkey 101 bourbon. And I think that's pretty tasty, pretty attainable. Maybe it's like $40 a bottle, depending, and 30 to 40, something in that range. And in the spicier side of things, I think this is better than that. Is it $200 better? I'm not sure. I think that knocks it down a little bit for me, but I am enjoying it, and I can see it opening up and kind of getting better. I will, of course, share this with friends. 6.25. That's where I'm coming in. 6.25.
Okay.
It's like definitely better than average. It is pretty tasty. I would almost push it to a 7, but I think their price point is just a lot. I think it's a lot for what it is.
Listen, Social Security isn't what it used to be. Granddad's got to get some more money.
Well, for $200 or in that range, you can get that double oaked of Woodford that we had a few weeks ago with David, and that was impressive. Like for $200, I'm picking that bottle over this. 10 times out of 10. So, I think that's kind of its biggest hit for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Hot takes. So, Robbie, vanilla CS. No, I'm just kidding. Do we need?
I'm a big vanilla CSS fan. Everyone knows this.
Exactly. I mean, who needs a stupid system? It's just styles. It's just styles and positioning. Like, how self-important do you need to be?
I actually don't even use CSS. I just write bytecode and like compile it all down to make it manually change how things look. Like I think you should.
That's perfect.
You don't need SQL. You should just write like a thing that looks like SQL, right? Like
here's the thing. I argue that the internet is designed for information, and why do you need colors and positioning to perform those transactions? I say you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything
so if you
we
just
do
use HTML
is because people have no attention span.
And we're back.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Riverside. They used to be good. Several times now they have sucked.
Wow. Hey, Riverside people, Riverside developers, come on and talk about Riverside. I bet it's really hard. Here's the thing, is that yes, we have had more frequent technical challenges recently. That said, this seems like a really hard app to make. And I've noticed recently when I go to join in the waiting room, it's like, join via the app. I wonder if they're trying to push you out of the browser.
Well, so here's what I feel. We have this kind of ideology where we want to like, ship fast, break things, keep adding features, keep getting investment, keep getting more money.
Yeah.
Some things, hear me out, could just be complete. If it's working and everyone is podcasting on it and we all love it and we like that it's stable because you haven't broken it, how about we just keep it that way?
Yeah.
It's like on our Tesla, we have, the automatic wipers, right? Mm-hmm. So most cars have that. Some of them are dumber and they're just like, on a set interval. Some are like a little smarter. They can like sense the rain. The Tesla refuses to like do it any of those ways and is like, I must use the cameras and like parse the video feed and decide whether it's raining. So like it always is just like sunny out and it's like, wipers. I'm like, so it's like, and that broke. Like that it worked flawlessly for years, and then they put out a software update and it broke. And I'm like, guys,
that's the nature of
worked
software
already.
though.
Who the fuck wants your wipers updated? They work. Do not do that. Like same thing with Riverside here. If it's working, don't update it. Just like keep that shit the same.
Do you think those functions aren't well covered by testing suites? And that's a possibility. We changed something else and now this.
Maybe, but also like, I mean, yes, like in Tesla's case, I feel like that shouldn't be as hard to cover as some of the things Riverside does. You would need to spin up a very robust thing that like faked, actually sending video, actually sending audio, changing your inputs, what happens when the inputs go away, a whole bunch of things. I don't know. It's tests that I wouldn't want to write, but I think the people that are making money off of these like pieces of software should write those tests because we don't want the stuff to break.
Right. Yeah. You want to like, the idea of feature releasing is incremental improvement and not necessarily deprecation of things that already work. But it's hard.
Yeah.
I would wonder, I mean, first of all, we're making some assumptions that like Riverside is on a VC money train and is constantly having to move forward in order to meet valuations and yada, yada, yada. So who knows? Maybe that's not true for them, or maybe it is. But I think we should have a Riverside developer on to talk about the complexity of that. So
yeah, related, we should have someone from the browser company on. Did you see there's been a bunch of threads about it because they like basically, killed Arc to work on whatever they're working on. People posted the clip from Silicon Valley where it's like, did you think you could ask for less money? They're like, wait, what? You can do that? Because like there's this unrealistic expectation. You have a browser that's a Chrome wrapper and it's worth $500 million. Probably not.
Yeah.
So that's the problem is now we got to throw in AI. We got to kill that browser. We got to like AI everything, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to focus on your core thing and you might be a multimillionaire instead of a 10 or 100 millionaire. Like
right. Like, isn't there like a good happy place that isn't like a $5 billion valuation in order to become, CEOs becoming millionaires in the first couple of years if they get traction because of valuations. But like, it's all trust and bullshit to a degree. I mean, forks are really working in these spaces though. So wrap Chromium,
That's true.
or fork VS Code, and now it gets bought, and
it's a weird time, but like VC money has always been weird. Like do you ever watch Shark Tank or like stuff like that? Or okay, so
I've seen it before, but like no.
Like everyone on Shark Tank, they're billionaires, right? And so you look at they're making an offer to someone for $500,000 for like 50% of their company. 50% of your company is a lot. And you look at their, like if you had, I forget the exact numbers, but let's say you have like $5 billion in the bank, you make that 500,000 in interest in like a day. Yeah. So they're literally putting nothing up. It's like
there's no risk.
All bullshit.
Yeah.
So the same with VC funding. They're like, if it doesn't work, okay, it's a tax write-off, so I continue to not pay taxes. And like, I don't care.
Yeah, VC, private equity, all these things have sort of disrupted our incentives and financial system and made running like, what if I just want to spin up a software business and like have it as a small business? That's great. My family and I make, whatever, hundreds of thousands a year and have a very nice life. Like that's not a bad goal, I don't think. Yeah, I mean,
but there's so much red tape
cool
these days. It's like you have to know so much to have a business, and that it shouldn't be like that.
Well, the problem with business is that it always amounts to sales. It's like you can make a business, but if you can't sell it, if you can't market it and get people there and all of that, and it's a very noisy landscape these days. It's not like 50 years ago. You open a shop in town and people are like, great. If I need that thing, I go to that shop. I know Robbie or I knew his dad. And so then I go there. But like all of that there's none of those relationships involved either.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
This is quite a pivot of where I was thinking we were going to discuss, but
we can circle back. You had started to talk about hot takes, and we were joking about things that weren't actually on your list, but you can ask this actual one here.
This is a highly planned show, okay? and I want to stay on task. That's all. That's all I'm asking for, a little professionalism. Okay. That's it. I quit. Oh, I'm just kidding. That would be a hot take. I quit. By the way, I just want to let everyone know this is my final show.
Not even going to take it to episode 200.
Not even going to make it to 200. Yeah, that's it. Just right before, just really mess with you. You could find a replacement. It's not that hard. So I was just thinking about, especially like, I don't know what the trigger was, but I guess I'm like noticing this trend in tech Twitter and just in general. I feel like this idea of building a personal brand and becoming like kind of known in internet circles and tech internet circles has really just exploded. It's this whole thing about like creating content and like just being overly involved in social and social media circles being prioritized. I don't know if that's being incentivized by these community creators or by perception of folks still trying to break into the industry or move forward in the industry. Maybe you're a junior and you've been working a few years. You're not getting ahead fast enough because there's still this perception of like, I want to be senior in 5 years because that's where the money is or that's where the clout is or whatever your incentives are. Again, no judgment. What I'm bringing this up for is more of like a observation of like, are we pushing people to do this? Because to me, early career is very much about like get in the weeds and build things and break things and be on teams where you have good mentorship just through observing, like not even them being responsible for pulling your career forward, but just like somebody who knows the answers and has some like emotional maturity to get you through, the trenches and do stuff and release things and have that. And I just feel like, and it might be my perception in our bubble, I don't know, I just see this rise of content creators. And I don't know that those are developers per se.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think if you're making money off of content creation, you care more about the views and the ad revenue than your technical skills. So, you're not necessarily learning the best way to do things. You're just trying to make videos that people enjoy. Yeah. But also, if you have no presence at all, like let's say you have no GitHub, no social media, no nothing. You clock in at 9 a.m., you clock out at 5 p.m. No one's ever heard of you. Theoretically, I would like to say you would be first on the chopping block of like, oh, we got like Microsoft just laid off 7,000 people. Okay, well, we don't want to get rid of the guy who has like 10 million followers on YouTube because, he's actually a good developer and, giving us clout for just being here and like whatever. I think it could help you to like have that presence.
At least the perception is that it's funny that you use that example because apparently one of the guys who basically like created TypeScript and has been working on it for the last 10 years was part of that.
Oh,
so
dang.
Isn't that funny?
I did not see that.
Yeah. And so it's been like, oh, got laid off today, worked on the TypeScript and blah, blah, blah for the last 10 years and had announced their like recent speed improvements using Rust in their compiler and then got let go. Perceived low performer. I mean, that's their spin is that like you must be a multi-year high performer and we're cutting out middle management. That guy doesn't sound like part of that.
No. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just people getting replaced by AI. Like if TypeScript is pretty good and it's actually making it to where, if everything is really strongly typed, it's easier for AI to get it right? Yeah. So like maybe it's at a point where it's good enough. We don't need to work on it anymore because we don't need programmers anymore either. So just like you done.
Yeah. So I think their spin isn't totally right. I'm sure some manager, I know it just said middle managers getting cut up, but like some person of importance probably gets personal like input and say so. So it's just like, oh yeah, Robbie's a dick. I want him out. And then expense, right? If they're just like, listen, we need to cut $1 million from this department in salaries, probably more than that because some senior principal engineers are well paid across the board. I do think that as an industry, like, well, not an industry, but as a like profession across the board, it's an artifact of like people getting crazy titles super early in their careers in order to meet like salary bands because demand, and the demand is diminished. Let's just say that. Like, of course, people need software engineers, developers, whatever the fuck you want to call them. That's always going to be needed, I think, to some degree for a while. Somebody has to like quality control or something, right? Or just even be able to read and understand. You have to have that skill so that you know what's happening. Because AI is not going to write bugless code, right? So how do you do that? AI writes the buggy code, and then I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's places there. But I think the baselines are getting reset. I think there's just like mass layoffs, and you're throwing people out there to kind of reset them, to make them willing to accept a lower salary band. You're not constantly moving up. Yeah, there's a reset on what the plateaus are. There's going to be an elongation in periods of getting up leveled and all of that kind of stuff too. I feel pretty strongly that like average salaries for our profession is a big reason why there's massive layoffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about how many of the people were like really senior people at Microsoft, but I know that if you've been at, one of these phenomena companies for 10 plus years, your salary is definitely, well, not definitely, but it's likely if you're a, principal of some sort to be over 500K. You get rid of a few of those people, you've saved millions of dollars in like just getting rid of a few people, and that's pretty compelling.
Exactly. Yeah. And if your ROI on their inputs are just like, oh, they're making TypeScript better.
Yeah. Zero money made from TypeScript. Like it's a goodwill thing and we all like it, but yeah, you're not making money from it.
Right. And like you said, it's like very stable. So
yeah. I think they're just mad that they didn't fork VS Code themselves and make billions of dollars for no reason.
Right. Ironically, like OpenAI, who Microsoft is a massive partner in, ended up buying Cursor, right? Or was it Windsurf? Windsurf. They bought Windsurf to, strengthen against Cursor, I guess. And yet VS Code could have just done that. And Copilot's getting even better, actually, in VS Code. I have seen a lot of improvements there, too. So, again, Microsoft has all the pieces and apparently can't put it together.
Yeah, it seems like it wouldn't be that hard. Like,
I think it's a branding issue because like nobody wants to pay them. So like Copilot comes out, it's free for a while, and then it goes to paid, and then nobody pays because they're like, it sucks. Nobody pays. So they go to these other places and it ends up being better. Copilot quietly gets better and then is like, well, it's free. Here, come on back. It's free. And so they just don't know the pay model. They got into open source hoping to draw people into pay. And I don't think it's working.
It is kind of a problem if they start to not care about the JavaScript community because they own all of it. So
yeah, maybe you made a bad investment. They're going to push us all into .NET, actually. Well, it's going to deprecate things and make it .NET friendly.
I mean, if they made it bad enough, everything would be Dino instead of node based. So you wouldn't have NPM or like people would probably still use GitHub. I don't think you're going to dethrone GitHub. But
GitLab hasn't done it for sure.
GitLab is trash.
Whoa. Hot take. GitLab is trash.
Really?
Yeah. What specific things in it were too much for you?
It just doesn't feel right. Like it has it's like if you're rebuilding a clone of an app, but you just don't have the it factor or the vibe. You're just like, all right, I'm adding the same features. Like, you like this, right? No, I don't.
Yeah. It does a lot too. It's like good enough in many ways, but I do always think about it as like, yeah, just not as good as GitHub.
Yeah, I think their tagline should be, at least we're not Bitbucket.
Yeah, like strong number 2. If you have a financial reason, we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, like their CI stuff is decent. There's things, but it just never really catches fire.
Yeah, it's reliable. It's just not fun to use. It's like any enterprise software. I think it's like that's it. It's like more enterprisey. It doesn't have that like social green GitHub graph, like follow the people I like, see new projects coming through. It's like, this is for work. You're not going to do anything fun on it. It will be reliable though.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't follow people really. I do star projects. I do watch things. So I'm like, GitHub very much has that like social to code for me. I don't really care about the people so much.
Yeah. Who likes people?
We don't even like each other. I mean, come on. This episode is brought to you by, this is a special one for you.
Fresca.
Yeah.
And glare on your can.
Yeah, it's hard with the lights right there. What do you want me to do?
It is hard. But yeah, I think we should fork something and try to make lots of money because that seems like a good plan.
Let's fork Shepherd JS.
Ooh, we'll call it
such a strong money maker on its own. Actually, it's not so bad. You change a couple of words in the license.
Yeah.
You don't get rich unless you're like in a third world country.
But yeah, I do want to build a lot of stuff. I have plans because I want to have a lot of time on leave, but I'm hoping for like, an hour or two here or there. I'm going to vibe code a bunch of stuff. So like the first one I'm very excited about. I don't have a name for it. If anyone has a name in mind, let me know. But the current name is just going to be, what am I supposed to be doing? Because I don't know if I have ADHD actually, I'm not diagnosed, but I have a hard problem with walking into a room and being like, ooh, this thing, I should work on this. Or like not finishing the thing I was like my wife tells me to go get me a Gatorade. And I come downstairs to get it and like, I don't know, do something else and come back upstairs without it.
Yeah.
And so I want an app and it should be super simple. And it goes on, it's an Apple Watch app. And you just tell Siri, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And then every minute it will remind you, did you do this? Because it's a little different than like a reminders app. You can have a persistent reminder that supposedly shows up or whatever. But I want a new notification every minute, maybe with escalating like levels of severity or something.
Yeah. Get it done, get it done, get it done.
Yeah. So I'm going to I think that'll be a fun one and an easy one to do.
Are you going to vibe code it in Swift?
I don't know. I am going to build a PRD with, I'm going to try it with like ChatGPT, Claude. I don't know all the tools I'm going to use. Like I'll probably do Windsurf if you can still use it. I don't know what the whole happened with all their acquisitions.
Yeah, I still use it. Yeah, I used it yesterday.
That, Cursor, Warp, like just try a bunch of tools.
Claude Code.
And I probably won't do them all for like each app, but like for each thing I'm building, I'm going to try a couple different ones. And then I'm going to do another one that is very topical to me right now. That is a baby picture ransom. So you go like, hey, we just had twins. You want to see pictures? Click this button to buy formula, and then the pictures will unlock.
Okay.
So
it's basically, it's a way to get your inheritance early. Okay, I like this.
Well,
I've read financial articles where they talk about the problem with boomer inheritance cadence is that it's not timely. So give me a second here to kind of hit this up, and then you can tell me if I'm anywhere near. That if you get it when you're like 60, it's not life-changing in the same way that if you get it if you're in your 30s, for example. So it's like, oh, if you get it when you're 60, it's just kind of padding retirement. You don't have the compound timelines, and you don't also have the same potential life-changing strategies. If you get it in your 30s, you have a windfall that could help you start a new business, or just even putting it into your investments earlier so you have longer compounds, which way improves your retirement, things of that nature. So anyway, yada, 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 a way to like win-win unlock inheritance sooner.
Yeah, not exactly what I was going for, but yes, that is a valid point to anything. Like they always say with investments, it should be earlier, which I have never done. I just take on as much debt as I can earlier. But
so do you drain your 401ks for debt?
No, I don't drain my 401ks. Like I'm still saving for retirement.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not saving.
Not saving. Do you have an emergency fund?
No, that's credit cards. Yeah, it's precarious, but it's like if you did hit a big problem, you could drain your 401ks if you needed to.
Oh, for sure. And I'm also like shit talking you when I didn't even have a 401k until I was like 32 or something. I was like, oh, I should maybe do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I'm ahead compared to like over half of the population. But in other ways, I have like a lot more to work on. So, it could be better, could be worse.
Maybe there'll be UBI by then and it won't matter.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the future with like how coding is going to work and everything, but that wasn't something I had a bullet point on, so we're not going to do that.
No, but you can go off topic. These are all just, I don't know if you've seen this or listened to this show before, but it's all sort of like an idea and then the reality, who knows?
Yeah, I know. I was just saying I don't want to go into that right now.
Fair enough.
But something we should mention real quick. I will be giving a talk at Big Sky DEF CON. Also be doing an episode of this show there, theoretically. We'll see if we can work out the details. Chuck will not be there, but I will.
I won't because I quit. I can't.
Yeah,
because
I'm announcing Adam Argyle as the new permanent guest host.
In the background, I've been trying to get him to do it. We'll see. He's definitely watching this. Yes, I think that is awesome. Oh yeah, is that in like August? Yeah, it's in August.
It is. I was not expecting to be accepted, and I'm going to have a lot of work to do to get a talk ready. But it's
good. Pressure.
Derivation of the talk that I gave for Web DevCon at Amazon. So no one in the real public has seen it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But I'm going to make it like way more fun and interesting than it was for Amazon.
How much HTMX is in your talk? Because I thought that was a requirement.
There's none, but there is a lot of HTML. I assume they're going to publish the like blurb I gave them, so I'm not going to ruin it, like spoilers if I tell you about it. But the whole gist is it's called HTML is stealing our jobs. And it's like a riff on like, how AI is replacing programmers, but HTML is actually replacing the need for like a lot of JavaScript. So just having fun with that and making like a fun talk around that.
I know you read a lot of books, so Hypermedia Systems kind of talks about how good the web platform, like not how good, just necessarily like what's already there and how it works. And it's not wrong. Like we went off the rails quite a bit and we forgot about what it can
Except
do
for Ruby.
On its own.
Because it's on Ruby.
Wow. Oh, shit.
Anyway.
Well, my time here is done. Robbie's gotten funny. So it's kind of, again, I quit. I'm not needed. That's cool. And I think there's kind of a thread there. Yeah, I make the jokes about HTMX Con just because Carson's a part of it or whatever.
Yep.
I wonder if I could just ship our stuff to Carson and then you just get it when you get there rather than going back and forth.
This just in, whiskey.fund is now open for all your merch needs. That's right, Robbie. We're hearing reports of hats, sweaters, and t-shirts, as well as a link to join our Discord server. What's a Discord server? Just read the prompter, man. Hit subscribe, leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, and tell your friends about our broadcast. It really does help us reach more people and keeps the show growing. All right, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
You could, although the shipping has been a disaster.
That's
I will
true.
never trust UPS again.
I should have just taken it with me 2 weeks ago had I known.
Like if I knew how badly UPS could shit the bed at just doing their job, I would have been like, you fly here first. We pay whatever it is to like have you stay in a hotel, whatever. It'll still cost less than like shipping it, and it'll actually get there. Yeah, ridiculous. Like it wasn't even air. It's like they put it on a truck, and you cannot drive. I don't care how broken it is. Drive it to Miami and take it off the truck. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. I don't know how that's hard, but well, when I received it, so for context to the listener, for React Miami, we shipped our stuff using UPS. This episode is not brought to you by UPS because we're about to shit talk them. And they couldn't deliver it at first for whatever reason. Yeah, undeliverable. What's going on? It's like, should have been delivered yesterday. Here I am showing up, expecting to like start to set things up. Instead, we had to try to find it and interface with customer service on 47 levels that has no idea about the state of the package, nor can put eyes on it. And we can't talk to anybody who can put eyes on it. Mm-hmm. They can only make a special phone call later in the day to the shipper. It's like, okay, what the hell is going to go on here? Meanwhile, I have to rebuy a bunch of things and hope it gets sent overnight. Thank you, Amazon.
Yeah, still relying on UPS potentially.
Still potentially relying on UPS. But by the time things got there, we were just like well underway, already set up. It shows up, put in a giant refrigerator-sized box, by the way. Their repackaging was huge. It was like 3/4 of a refrigerator box. And they were like, broken. I don't know. One strap was like broken off. And you could.
So the other strap was still together? I assume
functional.
Okay, interesting. Because the one strap did break. Like the guy picked it up by the cheap plastic thing that holds the strap on. So of course it broke. And I was like, hey, yeah, those suck. Please just like tape the shit out of it before you send it out. He's like, all right, I'll do that. I'm guessing he didn't do that. And then like somebody picked it up and stuff started falling out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there was tape on there, but I don't know. I mean, the airline also like tore off like 400 layers of wrapping. Like I saran wrapped the whole thing in like 400 layers. And I was like, this is great. And like, this is how they ship furniture around. This is going to be great. Got it out of the baggage claim. Yes, baggage claim. Yeah. And all the plastic was gone magically. And then one of the straps was kind of open and it was like half with the lid on. And I'm like, how did you guys do this? Like, how did you tear off?
I wonder if it was a red flag when it was all wrapped up and they had to unwrap it and like make sure it was okay.
When they do that, they usually put a slip in there saying like, you know, it was a TSA check and there was no slip. So I don't know. Anyway, I got new independent straps, 4 of them, and wrap and. So I think the next ship should be better. Should show up ship shape.
Yeah. I think we need several smaller containers instead of that one big shitty one.
Maybe.
But
maybe.
We'll figure it out one day.
Well, since we're still learning. I don't know what you're going to do with this stuff, so you should find out. Typecraft will get you a better container. Maybe he's good with travel.
I bet he could find a container. Or I'll just ask Jason Langsdorff. He'll be like, have you tried this container that is $3,000? I'll be like,
right.
That one does look good.
Yeah. He doesn't travel with like a big behind banner thing. So that's the only thing. But he knows how to take everything else for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how it works, honestly, because like most of his equipment is usually at his spot in Portland, right?
Yeah.
But we did the one in Texas and like he's done them around the country. And like when we got there, like, is that his crew that somehow like puts everything in a big truck and drives it there? Or does he hire a local crew that has all the stuff?
Probably.
Like, I need like a TV crew basically with all the things you would need for that. You guys figure it out. Maybe it's that, and he doesn't have to worry about it.
I think it's the latter, but I can't imagine that cost. I mean, shipping versus that, like shipping would be easier, but you need a crew, you need people.
I mean, it's like a TV show. It's, you know, each episode is like, could be up to like $100,000. I feel like, depending on like how much I don't know the exact cost, but it's like, it is a big production. It is not like, it's not what we do.
This episode is brought to you by Mux Video. They just print money.
I don't know what Mux Video is.
You don't know what Mux is?
No.
Mux were the sponsor, I think, of his last Web Dev Challenge.
Oh.
And they
the one
do...
with Adam Argyle?
I think so. Yep. They do video technology across the board. So they do like video hosting and streaming and tech stuff and features and yada, yada, yada. It would be more tech-sided Vimeo, maybe. It's like the best way I can kind of say it.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's had some cool sponsors that have like introduced me to technologies that I might use, but then I forget about them and don't use them.
Right. Mux. Well, they have the cool t-shirt. I don't know if you saw the cool t-shirt that folks had at React Miami. It's kind of retro looking. I was lucky enough to get sent one because I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know if we've really unpacked React Miami at all. Any major things that happened I should know about?
I mean, other than what I said. I mean, for me, it was very difficult. I mean, admittedly, I've felt like very burned out from that event. So nothing to do with the event itself. And Michelle is great. And like, it was a great setup, like super accommodating, enjoyed the conversations and all that. But like the logistics were like exhausting. I was also lucky that my brother like drove down to help a bunch with some of that. So like he's setting up things as soon as I get equipment. Shout out to Roxy also, who like helped me with show notes as I was working on logistics stuff, like Aaron stepping in and co-hosting. A lot of positives like that brought that together. So that was good. The event was, people are super excited. Like it has a vibe to it. You know, you were there last year. There was like more of that vibe. And I do like the intimacy of the new venue. So I thought that was really nice. It was fun. Like the only thing I got to see was the Family Feud parody thing with the Terminal Coffee guys, but that was really funny and enjoyable. Had a lot of great conversations. We gave away every single t-shirt, and that was exciting. Again, shout out to my brother because he was, as we're recording, he's talking to people and giving out t-shirts and our cards and all that fun stuff. So it's a positive event and it is fun, but I was like super burned out. I was like, I'm so tired of this case. I'm tired of dealing with microphones, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's the TLDR.
Yeah. I mean, that's why TV and radio stars don't deal with their own equipment. They just show up and do their thing, and they're done. Yeah. Like the equipment part is hard, and you have to know a lot of stuff about how it works, how to level all the stuff, how to get your lighting right, how to, whatever. And we don't care to know that much about it. I just want to press a button and it works.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, it's just another thing you have to learn on top of everything else. And, we don't have our weekends to dive into the nuances. But I mean, people there were nice and helpful as much as they could be. And so, we make the best of it. But it is challenging. When you think about people who might be traveling with equipment, I wonder if Wes and Scott have traveled with their gear and what that looks like. Because
Wes probably 3D prints a custom thing that holds all
now. Yeah, he's like, I 3D printed a case, cost me $5.50. I don't know how you get the phone, but the previous year they did a live episode and they had gear, I guess, or did they use what? I don't know. Maybe that's
I was
question.
there, and I honestly am not sure. Like they didn't have super crazy gear. I don't think it might have just been the sound they had because they were doing talks in that room beforehand. So they just been like additional mics into that.
Yep. My guess is they used what the venue had, and maybe that's our flaw. Is like, what venue stuff do you have to provide for this?
Well, I'm not going to say any names, but we've tried that, and I don't like doing that. I like having control of the sound and what the output is.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
There was some cool aspects of it, like those weird, like Britney Spears mics, and all that shit. But you don't know what's happening. You're just sort of you're at the whim.
If I'm coming all the way across the country to record a show, I don't like not knowing if I'm going to ever get that show.
Yeah.
So I want to be like, I know I've got it on my SD card. I'm good. See ya.
Yeah. Got my own board. Just plug that into. Thanks.
Yeah, which is, I think, is also reasonable. Like we bring our board, you plug it into the system the venue has. Then everyone at the venue could hear you if they were wanting us to do it that way. I don't know.
It's all a learning experience. You should start a conference of podcasts. Tech podcast, the Tech Podcast Conference for veterans, and who would sponsor that? That's the problem. We can't even get anyone to sponsor our own podcast. How would we ever get someone to sponsor a conference around it? This episode is brought to you by David Kramer, his personal bank account.
Yes,
you'll like it, assuming he ever hears this, but we'll see. Cool. Anyway, speaking of whiskey, so I had this epiphany. I think it was last night. Anyway, having a little dram, hanging out on the couch with the wife. We have a few Girl Scout cookies remaining. And I was like, it's time to wrap these up. I'm over it. So get those Samoas. And then like tasting the coconut chocolate, like that cookie mix. And then taking another taste of whiskey. I think it's a great pairing. And I wanted to ask if you've ever come across other similar whiskey enhancing pairings.
I don't know specific ones to tell you, but we used to always go to the whiskey dinner at there's There's a place called the Carlisle House in Alexandria. It's like an old house. And they did a whiskey dinner out on the back, and they would do, each course would have a different whiskey and not like a real amount of food, but like some kind of pairing that goes with it. And I think that's a really underutilized thing. Everyone does that for wine. You got tons of wine pairings, tastings, whatever. I think you could do a lot of that with whiskey. And one of them that is an obvious pairing is you make a whiskey ice cream and then you have that with the whiskey. I don't remember what the other stuff was, but they went all the way from they had unaged stuff, just clear corn alcohol, to tell you, this is how it starts.
It's called White Dog.
Into something that's a little bit more aged, leveling up to the stuff that's supposed to be the best, to see all the differences and the different types of mash bills and whatever. Also, you could take that and add on, I really like Ken Wheeler's barbecue high tea. I think you should do that with whiskey pairings.
Oh.
And be fancy AF, and I think it would really take off. But I also don't have the money to start a restaurant, so.
And it feels like it's really hard to make that a profitable venture. I think that you have to really love running a restaurant as part of that, and then you're just getting by.
Well, your margins are 5 to 10% if you're lucky. So you have to have lots of volume and really love what you're doing day in and day out. And if you don't, then fuck it. So I don't know. I think I'd like to see that exist. I don't know if I'm the one that should start it.
Well, if it's called Ken Wheeler's, I don't think you should. I think there's a guy,
Well, it's not called Ken Wheeler's. I was just saying that he did that. But we could. The people that know who he is, if you called it Ken Wheeler's, would be interested in going. Yeah, Ken, do you want to invest in this? I think we should think about it.
Yeah, Wheeler's Whiskey and Barbecue. And let's just, whoa. Gosh, what could be the third? Anyway, for now, it's Wheeler's Whiskey and Barbecue. We just start it, and we just kind of force him to be involved until he just gets involved.
Yeah.
That seems like a Northern Virginia staple. I could see it happening.
I think it could do well in the DMV area. Yeah, it'd be tough to figure out the exact spot that would do well. But having been to the whiskey library in Portland and Jack Rose and places that do everything just great.
Yep.
Why isn't there more of that? I get that it's hard and you got to build up your whiskey collection and it does take work, but it seems like a model you could copy. As long as you actually know what you're doing and just do well.
Because you can only copy at that moment, right? So if you went to the Jack Rose and you looked at their menu at that moment in time and you just said, great, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start my thing. The problem there is that you have a collection of people who are so knowledgeable that continues to move and evolve, because inevitably your bottles get drank and you have to go buy something else. And in the marketplace, the availability is different. I think the magic there is that they are just good at identifying things that are pretty tasty to the palates, like open palate. And that's hard to replicate. So you can go steal. Okay, this almost dovetails back to a thing I have on the list, which is Gumroad is open source now. It's one of those hey, we're open source software. Do it on your own if you want. Post Hog and many other apps. Supabase, they're all open source. But they also know that it's really hard to do on your own. We're going to open the book. This is the secret sauce. Doesn't mean you can start Robbie Base and then have a business that is all of a sudden worth the same as theirs, because you just can't run it the same. You don't have whatever's behind the curtain. And I think it's like that with restaurants and everything else too.
Taking that a step further then, should we have a franchise model for open source? Supabase is hey, you want to be Robbie Base? All right, well, you give us 25% of everything you make and a $300,000 payment up front, and we will help you all the way. As we iterate, you iterate, and you're growing with us, and maybe there's something there.
I don't think that's terrible. I think there's a possibility. There's something there. I mean, obviously it's not complete unlock on day one, but I don't know. So the franchise model is about accessibility. McDonald's starts in California and they start franchising out, and I've heard how amazing McDonald's is. I want access to it. I go on the internet, doesn't change anything. I need to be able to drive there and get the good.
Right.
So what is that for software? So I don't know, but I don't think it's wrong, because sometimes people are just like, well, this has been around for 5 years. I want the new thing. What's the new thing? Well, the new thing's just a copy of the old thing, but we'll still take your money.
Yeah. I don't know. Someone that has better ideas on that than we do, let us know.
Yeah. And this is why we don't execute.
Yeah. I don't have time to execute.
Yeah. I just make things and move on. Move on.
Yeah. I don't even have time for that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, now, specifically right now, I'm just surviving.
Yeah. Yeah. Just getting by. We'll check in with Robbie in about 6 months and see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I'll be back at work then. So hopefully I have time for work, or we're going to have bad news.
Yeah. Like, you're an underperformer. Oh, I don't know. They know what situation you're in.
Yeah. Also, fun fact, if you try to lay someone off when they are out on paternity leave, that is federally protected. So fuck you.
Exactly. Yeah. I would hope that you're safe. You're like, you just started recently.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone at HashiCorp is going to be safe at IBM for, I mean, don't quote me on this if everyone gets laid off, but I'm thinking a couple years at least, like, going to give us time to switch over to their stuff where we can figure out, what is redundant. If there are things that are super redundant, those things will probably go away, and the people that work on them will either be absorbed to a different team or they will go away. And like, that's just part of the acquisition process. But
Yeah.
but our team works across all the apps and like ensures they're all working well. So I feel like we won't go away, but I'm trying to make lots of fancy graphs and stuff to be like, look at the work we're doing so that you can see we are needed.
Right. Look how important I am. No robots can do this.
I have lots of leather-bound books.
Yeah.
And
My apartment smells of rich mahogany. See, if you want a good smell, mahogany is it. Comes back around to the wood that you choose for particular purposes.
mahogany is a good wood. I think I should just replace all of my decks with mahogany. Very cost-effective.
Oh, yes. Well, you're rich. I mean, come on. You mentioned a Tesla.
Well, that
nice
is
microphone.
okay. So breaking news.
Oh,
We had a Tesla Model X, right? Black one, 6 seats. Decided that with the twins, we needed to really shake things up. So
Okay.
we sold it. We got a white Model X with
There you
5
go.
seats. Because if you have the bench seat with like the 3 seats in a row, they actually all fit there. If you have 2 with the hole in the middle and you put one in the back in the like third row, it's actually all fucked up because like each row has to be really far in front to like fit all the seats in front of each other.
Yeah.
And so then the person in like the passenger seat is like in the dash. So I'm like, this is dumb. We went to the Tesla dealership with all 3 car seats and went like, so can we put these in a car? And they were like, yep. So we just
Sure, why not?
put them
Yeah.
all in there. And then we got home. We were like, the Model Y is like a lot cheaper. It's the new, like they've revamped the Model Y. It's nice. And like, should we try that? So we went back the next day and we were like, can we try to put these in the Model Y? And it is like 1 or 2 inches too short or too narrow.
Oh,
So
right.
they don't fit. So like that also makes me wonder, like when you're designing a car, right? What are your parameters? Why couldn't this car be 2 inches wider?
I saw some thread on Twitter too talking about how essentially like car safety standards have also inhibited folks from having more kids, because like 3 is kind of a breaking point where there's only a handful of cars that work. And let's just say financially you can't get those cars. What do you do? Well, you can have another kid, you know?
Yeah, there was a post, I forget the exact wording, but someone was like tagging Elon because Elon is like, oh, everyone should have 15 kids and like repopulate the earth and like stop the population crisis. Of
course, yeah.
And they're like, okay, so if you want this, why don't you make a fucking car that'll hold 7+ adults comfortably? Like,
Yeah, seriously.
yeah. So
Yeah,
like,
like
that's a
7.
big missing thing. Like even the Rivian being the big SUV that's electric is not
It's not
very
that big actually
Yeah.
comparatively to like when I was in Montana a couple weeks ago, they upgraded us. I tried to get a minivan because it was like 6 guys. I'm like, this will work. I don't care. Good price. They're like, oh, you have an upgrade for $12 a day for a Suburban. And I will say, I hated driving that car, but we were very comfortable. It was like driving a yacht.
I don't want to drive a Suburban, but I love riding in a Suburban. It is so nice.
Yeah, it's nice, and there's plenty of room and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to think about like where safety standards have taken us. I mean, traditionally, like throughout history, it was poor people that had tons of kids because, you know, they needed people to plow the fields and all of that. Also, infant mortality rates were really high comparatively. So there's that and all that. Like, oh, I had 6 kids, 3 made it, you know. And you can throw all the kids in the back of your pickup or your station wagon or whatever else.
That's true. No one cared. No seatbelts, no seats.
No. I definitely rode in the back of my parents' station wagon plenty of times. And I thought it was amazing. It was so fun.
Was there a seat in it?
No. It was just the back. It was you have your front seats, your back seat. And I was like, I want to go here. And they're like,
my
sure.
grandparents' station wagon had the seats in the back that faced the back.
Oh,
like
that's
you
cool.
could sit there and look out the back window, and it actually had seatbelts and stuff. So,
well, that's cool. That sounds like some fancy shit.
Yeah, we always chose to sit back there because, you know, as little kids, you want to like wave at all the people and like see what you can get them to do. And
yeah, you feel like you have a little independence.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we're over time. Was there anything we missed talking about that you really wanted to get to?
Just, I want to talk about Why Women Kill, which is this TV show.
Why do men kill?
They don't, apparently. It is by the producer, writer of Desperate Housewives, and it has that vibe. Okay. It took me a little while. It took me a few episodes. I don't know. It was
seem like a thing you chose to watch to begin with.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't, but which I'm still pretty sure my wife is going to kill me. So I'm glad we have this on video. Anyway, so it's interesting. It's like this house, and it's in 3 different time periods. It's like the 60s and the 80s and more modern times. It's in Pasadena, and it's just going through like the relationship, like quandaries and whatever else. I guess at some point it amounts to the women killing their husbands or somewhere in that trifecta. But I don't know. It's actually, what's interesting from a period perspective, and then like the pace of it and certain language and whatever else. It's like, oh, I get where this is the Housewives guy, but it's actually like kind of cool. Lucy Liu is in the 80s one, and she is great. She's like funny, and it's like so captures like the 80s, like, I don't know, it almost feels like American Psycho, you know, like the 80s were about having and showing and whatever else. And she very much captures that. And it's just really funny and weird. And I don't know, just wanted to like throw that out there because I think like rather than talking about like sci-fi or video games or whatever else, it's actually a thing that I probably wouldn't have watched on my own, but would recommend.
Yeah, I might check it out. I have other things I need to watch.
Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has been crushing it for me lately. I don't know.
I have never paid for Paramount Plus because what does Paramount make? I don't know.
So all the Yellowstone things, I started with.
My parents watched those. I haven't watched those.
1883 is what I started with. I only watched a couple of episodes, and it was based on my Montana trip, but I was just like in that vibe. And okay, 1883 stars Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, and you're like, this is gonna be so corny and stupid. This is gonna be so corny and stupid, but it is like, it's one, you know, when you watch some shows and they have like Game of Thrones or whatever has this, and at the end of the episode you're like, that's fucked up, and then they end it. It has that. And I was like, okay,
with
I'm
Faith
in.
Hill and Tim McGraw.
Yeah, and they get raw, and I'm like,
do they
okay.
get McGraw?
No, Tim McGraw. Anyway, cool. We're over time now. Anything you want to plug or?
No, I'm tired.
All right, go take a nap, and I'm gonna go pretend to work for another hour.
All right. Catch everybody next time.
You've been watching Whiskey Web and Whatnot, recorded in front of a live studio audience.
What the fuck are you talking about, Chuck?
Enjoyed the show? Subscribe.
You know people don't pay attention to these, right?
Head to whiskey.fun for merch and to join our Discord server.
I'm serious. It's like 2% of people who actually click these links.
And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and tell your friends about the show.
All right, dude, I'm out of here.
Still got it.